Fishing with a friend that has an Old Towne Autopilot 120, I marveled at the spotlock, especially on a windy day, and the effortless transport from location to location. I already had an Old Towne 120 PDL, so I looked at some motor options to see if I could modify mine to do some of the things that the Autopilot does. Primarily, I was looking for the spotlock feature. Here's a comparison of some of my options. The first thing I looked at was the Bixby. I know that doesn't have any spotlock. It's a good product and it's so expensive for what you get. It runs at about $2,100 Canadian with the battery and the motor. That's for the larger capacity battery. It's really easy to install and you should be able to get great run times. But again, like I said, it has no spotlock, and that was something I really wanted. The Motor Guide XI3 ran for about $1,700 Canadian, and it runs at about 50 pounds of weight, which is without the battery. The installation would be a lot harder, as I would need to buy or make a plate to attach to the bow. Now, the bow placement is ideal for boat control, but actually is an issue if you have an issue with the motor, especially on a kayak. For example, clearing weeds and servicing the prop, for example, some line tangles, and I have experienced that, so I do know what that's like. If you've ever been in a weedy area and the prop gets really stuck with weeds, you understand what I mean. Having to pull it out constantly and trying to service it would be a pain on the bow. On a calm day, it would be a challenge on a kayak, and even worse with waves, so that idea was definitely a deal breaker for me. So what did I settle on? The Autoboat setup is about $1,200 Canadian without the battery, and around $1,500 with the battery. I got it on sale as I was one of the first groups for around $920 Canadian. The Minn Kota Endura C2 30-pound thrust motor was about $200. So for that price, I was really happy to try it. With that, you get course settings, navigation mode, anchor mode, or spotlock. Still, also cheaper and lighter than the Old Towne Autoboat as well. The trolling motor without Autoboat head is around 22 pounds. Alright, so this is the design of it right now. So I have the motor, goes through a hole. I did put some kind of gasket material in between here. With Pacific Kayak Angler, this gasket is included. So this is fantastic. And I thought it was just going to peel off, but no, this has remained intact. And it works really well to keep the water out. Same thing with my gasket in the middle here. Keeps the water completely out of the kayak. So you can see how far forward this was installed. So it's really, I don't know, maybe about 4 inches from the front, because I wanted it in front of the boat as much as possible. You'll see basically here, this is connected with the 2x4. The screws are on the bottom here. 3 screws to hold it in, and that's just to hold the transom or the mount here. So yeah, it works really well, and it's been very secure and no issues so far. Now let's put this into the kayak. So this is simply how it goes in. Pretty straightforward, and it'll lock into place just like the PDL drive. You can raise up the motor so it doesn't scrape the ground in case we're going into a low kind of a shallow area. It's still, as you can see, it's still going to have some problems of clearance, but it does help with the launching. So all you're doing here is this clamp allows it to go down to the fixed amount right there, and I just put it up here afterwards. So that's in the down position, and you can see here, this is, now I put it the same as the PDL. I can drop it down even lower if I want to, but that is in the depth like the PDL is. So I'm used to that depth, so I can make sure I plan to make sure I don't run into the bottom. Anyway, that's my setup, and again, if I need to, pull that out, clamp it down, and it's instantly safe there. I decided to install it into the PDL drive slot as I can maintain any issues easily, and although it's not at the bow, it's at the front third of the boat, which allows it to work fairly well. I spent a ton of time measuring and getting it onto the front of the plate to make sure it's as close to the bow as possible. This is similar to how the PDL drive is situated. I used a block of wood that I completely covered with silicone to waterproof it and then painted it. This will serve as my transom for the trolling motor. You have to detach the trolling motor head and attach the Autoboat head, but that is a simplish process that Tiny Boat Nation goes over fairly well in their videos. Sporting the remote control, which is pretty much what I use most of the time, not the app on the phone. It's got the navigation mode button, so that once you press that button, it'll set you in the direction that you're going. You can jog the left or right. You want to go a little bit more left or a little bit more right. You can do that. And then of course you can increase your speed or decrease your speed. The anchor button here, perfect. I use that quite a bit. It does a very good job unless the current is extremely fast, and then it has trouble holding place, but otherwise it does a good job there. I have it set up on a quick disconnect here. Right there. Cable management, not great right now, but it works for me. I don't mind it the way it is now. I can quickly disconnect it. No muss, no fuss. Over to my battery here, and that goes in the back. It's 100 amp hours, sorry. Yeah, it's doing real well. Top speed 3.7 to 3.8 miles per hour on a very calm, like right now the lake is absurdly calm. Usually when I'm out here it is quite wavy, so this is a nice change. Alright, so right now we're trolling with the nav mode, which means that it's going to be, wherever I point it, it's going to be hopefully going in that direction. It's generally been pretty good. It can go off a little bit over time based on the wind, etc. Anchor mode works quite well. We'll show you in one of the current and windy areas. It does a decent job keeping you relatively in spot. I found that if the current's going too quickly, you can hear the motor ramp up and it can't keep up. It's just that's just a limitation on the speed of the kayak and the motor. Now I'm going to show you, we're kind of going into the wind. It's a bit wavy, it's definitely not completely flat, and we're trolling 2 lines out right now. We're going at about 3.4 miles per hour, 3.2, just depending on. It's pretty windy, so you might not be able to hear this, but right now we're in anchor mode, and we're holding off just maybe about 15 yards from shore, and it's doing its work to keep us in spot. Pretty good actually. You can do functions like move it over to the left, so if I want to anchor lock a little bit more to the left, I press that left and it'll move me over 5 meters or so over to my left. So it's kind of a cool feature. You're going to be pointing into the wind when you anchor, and it holds you really well so far. Had some problems with getting good updates on it. It won't do it. A little bit wonky today in terms of connection, and nav mode going all crazy and anchor mode going all crazy. So I'm not sure what's going on today, but we'll try it out another day. And I think that's the problem with this particular thing, is the upgrades aren't working, which is unfortunate. And I've contacted them many times, but without any resolution really. So that's a bit disappointing. I'll try to keep contacting, but they just keep sending the same information, which I keep doing, and yeah, nothing's improving. So now, would I get this again? Is it worth it? I think so far. Navigation mode is great. Anchor mode is pretty sweet. I missed the actual exercise part of the kayaking, which I didn't realize I loved so much. So surprisingly, I haven't done away with the PDL. In fact, I probably use the PDL still a little bit more. In fact, I only pull out the motor now for the longer distances that need to be traveled, or where it's pretty windy and I don't want to be fighting a large fish like a salmon or a lake trout in the waves and trying to maintain a position and not drift too far off course. I definitely will keep this system anyway, because I will probably put this on any other kind of boat, small boat, and it should work just fine. So this is wonderful. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next Ladybug adventure.